Hey, y'all, welcome to Life Unfiltered, Heal That Shit, where we're taking everything we learned in 2024 and amplifying it for a new year of transformation. This is not just a podcast anymore. This is a revolution in healings. Whether you are a longtime listener or this is your first episode, get ready for some life-changing conversations.
Yes, indeed, because we've learned something powerful over the past year. When we share our truth, we give others permission to do the same. We've created this space for the truth seekers, the change agents, and anyone ready to do the work. Because let's be honest, real change happens when we stop hiding and we start healing.
So, whether you're here to work through your own journey or learn from ours, you're in the right place. We're about to get real, get deep, and most importantly, get some results.
Yes, indeed. So buckle up, strap in, grab your favorite drink, and let's heal this shit together.
Hey, y'all. My name is Kim Berland, and I am an educational advocate, activist, and consultant. I am also a scientist, and I don't say that very often. I'm a biologist, and I think that's important to know as I am talking about different things, such as brain research, which is one of my things right now. I'm a visionary motivational speaker, a producer, work executive, and I'm an intuitive melanated life coach. I certify people who want to become life coaches, and I also help people deepen their relationship with God to understand their unique design and purpose in order to positively impact the world. I'm a professional frolicker. I currently live in Medellin, Colombia, in South America. I left the US in October of 2021, and no, I'm not coming back. And also, I produce all other types of podcasts, and I'm a host. So, what up?
I swear to you, I was hitting this button, man. I was hitting it.
My God, that was so funny. I'm done with this. Go.
Oh, hell no!
Man, yikes. All right. Well, my name is Bianca Goolsby, and I'm a lot of things. I'm a hoot. I'm a good time. But also, please understand that I am an investigator and I'm a snitch. Would I have that sound effect? Yes, I would.
Snitch.
However, thank you. I
I got
appreciate
you.
it.
I am the sound effect. I don't know if y'all do that, but that's me. So I got you, sis.
I appreciate that because what is happening with the sound effects and my mouse not clicking the buttons? I'm a digital strategist and a consultant, an educational activist, and a certified snitch.
Snitch.
Yes, indeed. I'm the founder of Teaching for the Culture, where we transform, we empower, we advocate, we coach, and heal. I'm also an intuitive melanated life coach, and I'm a digital nomad, currently working, traveling wherever there's Wi-Fi, and currently I am still in Tallahassee, Florida. My purpose is to empower others to find their own path to freedom and fulfillment and to do it fearlessly. The 3 F's: freedom, fulfillment, and fearlessly. Yes, indeed. And I'm clicking the button and I don't know what to say.
It's a glitch in the system. Brr, 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 brr.
So like
See,
low key, Kalana needs to have a sound effects. We need to just
that's what I was about to say. I'm like, and here is Kalanda, the air horn expert. Okay.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, that's gonna happen. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's continue to move forward here because we operate by the 3 keys: accountability, transparency, and integrity. Let me say that again for the folks in the back because there seems to be some misunderstanding about these words and what they mean. Accountability, transparency, and integrity. So before we go further, we want to make sure that we're clear about expectations, what you can expect from us and what we expect from you. Amen. So what you can expect from us: to honor the 3 keys. We're going to keep it real. We're going to speak freely, which means that we're going to cuss if and when we feel like it. So if you have little listeners, you might want to have some AirPods, some headphones, or maybe not. That's your business. but we're going to speak freely in this space. And what we expect from you, hate speech, comments are not welcomed here. We believe in the block and be blessed ministry. Amen. So we want you to be very intentional with how you engage with others in social spaces, particularly this one, because this one is a safe space. We want you to engage and go on this journey with us. We're not the experts, but we are facilitating these hard and challenging conversations. And we want you to participate in this journey and bring people with you because together we are committed to doing the work to heal. What updates you got?
Amen. So, the first thing I think that's important for you all to know, and a reminder for those of you who have been here for a while, we have emojis. Our collective emoji is the heart with a bandage around it because we're healing. Everybody who is here is healing something. So, it's important for us to remember that and to treat each other with care. So, when you see us out in these digital streets, if you give us that heart with the bandage around it, that lets us know that you know us from this here community right here. It's an extra, like, I see you, extra, sprinkles and I got you type of situation. We also have individual emojis. So my emojis are the sunflower and the crayon. So the sunflower representative of invisible disabilities, something I am ferociously becoming an advocate about. It also represents just walking towards the light and honoring where God is leading you. Yellow is my favorite color. It makes me happy. It's like the sun. It brings me joy, all the things. And also the crayon, because there was a time in my life where my life was really, really black and white. And I made a conscious decision to color the fuck out of my life. So the crayon is also my emoji. And that's why I be skipping and bopping about and doing my best to find all the joy that there is out there for me. Tell them about yours.
Yes, indeed. So my emoji is the teddy bear and the hands that form the heart. Okay. So the teddy bear, okay, you see the armor here? All right. In this season of being loved and loving out loud and just being that soft teddy bear, but also if you push it, that grizzly come out, that's the season that I'm in. Amen. And it feels great to be loved on. It feels great to give love. Love is the highest frequency. And then the hands that are forming the heart. So I've been sharing my journey as it relates to the health scare that I had and how it has put a flame, literally has lit me on fire, where some of the things that I've been saying that I was going to do, the time is now, and literally have been tunnel vision and making sure that those things happen in my own way. And I thank God that I have the opportunity to do that. So if you see us out there in the streets, just remember, if you're looking for me, it's going to be that teddy bear emoji and the hands that form the heart.
Yes. So we are available in a bunch of different places. So if you are watching us over on YouTube, know that we're also available in audio on all podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all the things. And if you're listening to us, feel free to pop over to our YouTube page so that you can actually see what's happening here and all the things that we're putting up on the screen and our lovely faces. So yeah, I think that's it. I think did I leave anything out? Do you have anything else?
Nope,
Okay,
that's
cool.
it.
So let's get into our spirit check then. I actually used this yesterday, one of these days. I had an engagement activity with some contractors that I work with, and we were doing a speed dating. And I always like to honor the energy that people are bringing into the space, and there's a lot of those going on. So I was like, I want to do that. So I just took the actual spirit check image and shared it in there, and it was pretty cool to hear them describe. Like some people were like polka dots, and other people were like, I had went first and I like described my gradient, and then somebody had like a half like quadrants, and like it was just really interesting to hear how people were like dividing their hearts up and stuff. So it just gave me like an extra warm fuzzies of how the things that we do and the ways that we explain things and the ways that we choose our words to communicate can help other people identify words that they can also use to communicate and to give deeper insight into what they're thinking and feeling. Because even their feedback from it, they were like, I always learn something new about myself every time I come here. And that is the whole point is yes, we're connecting, but also have you even stopped to ask yourself these types of questions? No, you haven't. And people don't be doing that. So having said that, we love to model spirit checks and what that looks like and sounds like. We're going to do our spirit check today. And am I supposed to be sharing that? Is that how this was working? I totally forgot. Am I getting that up?
Yes. Usually
Okay.
this is your
I
thing you
couldn't
put up.
remember. We
I
ain't been
got
here
you.
long, amen.
Yes,
So
indeed.
let me get it up here on the screen then. Where is it? Where is it? One of these days, we are going to have this down flawlessly. And it's gonna be like, they're the thing. There they go. They in their bag now. They done figured out how it go down by the riverside.
Yes,
Okay,
indeed.
hold on. All right, is it there? Is it on the screen?
It's on the screen.
Okay, great. So the way that this works, we're going to model this for you, but we encourage you to do this as well for yourself. Okay. So these are the categories. Green, I'm absolutely wonderful. Life is great. Blue, I'm good. I don't have any complaints. Purple, I'm okay. Things could be better. And yellow, I'm not doing so well. I need support. So we invite you to also take a moment to search your spirit and identify where you feel like you might be, and we'll model for you what this can look like and sound like. So I've been doing a lot of talking, so I'm going to let you share first. How is your spirit feeling today?
So the way that I want to describe my heart is in the core and in the center. It's a bright green. Like in the deep inside of it, I'm absolutely wonderful. Life is great. The outside perimeters of that is going to be blue with some purple speckles. And I must say that some of the things that are happening outside has caused it to be blue. But then when I like stay to myself and in my own orbit and world, then the heart is green. So it kind of like changes in environments. But right now in this present moment, the heart is green in the center and there's some blue outside with purple speckles.
Gotcha. So I think for me, the heart is blue around the perimeter of the heart. So the outline, if you will, and again, think a gradient is purple. And inside this blue, there are bursts of green. Maybe like feeling like a diamond shining or something, but it feels very like bursty, right? Of green. But the majority of the heart is blue. And then there's this gradient around the outside of the purple. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, where shall we begin, child? Because I haven't talked to you. You haven't talked to me. Girl, dang, what is happening? Child.
Yes, indeed. Well, you say you have questions. So, what? Let's start. What questions you have?
Okay, well, one of the main questions that I had saw that you had come across some information about, well, you always come across information, but you had come across some information about a charter school. And then I subsequently saw that there was some type of video or something maybe that you recorded, and there was some investigative reporting that was happening with a school in the Tampa Bay area. So I was curious about that because we, have been having these conversations of what does advocacy look like for you now and all of that, but as well as what does teaching for the culture look like and what does that look like and sound like. So I'm just curious about what's happening in the area of advocacy as well as this investigative journalism that you do because you are a private investigator. So yeah, I'm ready. I'm listening. I got my tea. By the way, this is what's in my cup. I don't know if you're willing to share what's in yours. I don't know. I'm not judging you.
Bro.
I wasn't trying to
Oh,
roast.
hell no! Oh, 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 hell no
I just wanted it to be known you didn't have to share. I was about to
Yes,
share, but I didn't want you to feel pressured to
indeed.
share.
Yes,
Jesus, things don't be coming out my
indeed.
mouth right.
Ooh, child. Well, for the record, before you start, I had some tea, was yogi tea. Okay, that's what I have in my cup. And the affirmation that's on it, it says, breath is the voice of your soul.
I like that. It looked like your button's working again.
Hmm. So what's in your cup, ma'am?
So I promised I really wasn't trying to be shady. I really wasn't. But anyway, so I'm doing a new tea blend today. So I've been on my cycle, whipping my ass, but also better than it's been in the past.
Hmm.
A testament to drinking tea every day and drinking particular tea blends for particular times. It's been transformational for reals. But the tea that I'm drinking today is lavender and chamomile. So I had mentioned to Chef Ratatouille that I've been sleeping, but I don't necessarily know if I am rested. So he was like, "You need some rest. Like, this is what I want you to drink." It is so good. So it's lavender and I get the fresh herbs or not fresh, the dried herbs from the market. I actually have to go back soon. But anyway, lavender and chamomile buds and a little bit of honey and my infused oil. So I was just curious about what was being drunk and all that because I'm going to be drinking my tea as you share about what's been happening in the world of advocacy and the things that you've been working on in your investigative journalism. I'm muting now.
Yes, indeed. All right. So where should I begin in this one? For some time now, I've been contacted about issues that have taken place at Navigator Academy in Valrico. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, I need to figure out what is going to be the way that I am able to structure this entity where we are able to support the different things that are going on, but not experience the burnout of one to one support in cases. And so, after praying and reflecting, somewhat got some of it figured out. And thankfully, I've started to write out this process so that there's SOPs and a flow chart on how this
Amen,
is
Lord.
going to go moving forward with more things that I'm sure will come as it relates to this. But essentially, I had sent correspondence that there's a grievance link. It was created some time ago, and that is the place where we need more folks to use to report those type of things, in which then that will open the door for us to then investigate to determine if it's something that we can put bandwidth and energy on. I have been actively working on the restructuring of Teaching for the Culture to turn this and not just to have an advocacy organization, but for it to be an organization that is profitable and that it is receiving support from some of the nonprofits that are surrounded by Teaching for the Culture, to where we're able to get money that is through nonprofit support by us providing support to the nonprofits that are in the arms of Teaching for the Culture, but then also having structures where people would want to contribute in a way to where it is compliant with IRS code and just all of the legalities and red tape that it relates to all of that. So I've just really been deeply entrenched with structuring of or the restructuring of this organization, and I'm ultimately responsible for how this is going to be carried out and move forward. And when the light was lit, it was lit. So as it relates to Navigator Academy, there were several parents that reached out about different things that have occurred on the campus, to which
Can you
want you
share what kinds of things? Not like, of course, the details and such, but I have been unplugged, and also if there are other people who are like, "Well, what's going on down there at the Navigator Academy?" Can you give kind of like an example or overview?
yeah, so some of the things that would come across would be ESC IEP violations of not honoring IEPs, not conducting, first not honoring ESC students and what they need and providing accommodations for that. There's also been a climate and culture issue that has been clearly identified based on several reports of the persistent bullying that is taking place by students, but also some of the staff members that are bullying each other. There are previous educators that have spoken out about the climate and culture of the school, sharing that it is very much culture and clique, where if you don't align and click with the admin staff, then basically you are black sheeped and retaliated against. And that is not a good setting, particularly as I've been sharing and very transparent about my personal experience. And I know that you have your own experience about being retaliated in the workplace. It's not a good environment for children, but it's also not a good environment for the educators that are working for children. So those are high level things. There are one offs where there were severe situations where children were severely harmed, where they would come home with bruises or broken bones and not notified by the school that something had occurred until taking them to the hospital for them to be examined, and then later finding out something did happen at the school with no real follow through or explanation as to what happened and why. And then you have the parents on hook for a hospital bill and care due to whatever happened at school, that they should have been protected and should have had some supervision, but unfortunately was not. It's been a lot that's been happening at the school. Just the other day, there was a written threat that was written in the boys' bathroom. Parent went to a Facebook group to share that they were very concerned about sending their child to school because they did not appreciate or like the way that the school handled it. The school had stated that they had investigated it. However, the parent had called the local sheriff's office, which is Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, and come to find out from the sheriff's office that it was never reported from Navigator Academy. So the question is, if there was a threat that someone had wrote in the bathroom that they were going to shoot up the school, you would think that a sheriff's office would be called as it relates to that matter to investigate. And apparently that hasn't been done. Well, since I made the post asking for more details and for people to share their experience, my inbox again has gotten to a place where I'm like, okay, I did ask for this, so buckle up and just go ahead and receive. So received a lot of emails, a lot of DMs, and somehow some messages that came across my phone. And I'm not sure how that happened, but here we are. But nonetheless, there was a lot of communication as it relates to the climate and culture ultimately at the school, to the point where I was like, okay, yeah, so this is something that needs to be documented in video and in writing. And also wanting to interview the school admin staff to ask these questions, because there are some parents that have questions and educators that have questions. And quite frankly, after them serving a cease and desist to one of the folks that was on my page speaking out about their experience, I definitely have questions as to how much of school's resources did you use to contact this attorney to send the cease and desist for defamatory statements. And I want to know what's defamatory, particularly because it's on my personal Facebook page, which is the core of the investigation. And I want to make sure that I have journalistic integrity in this process. So it's very important for them, Navigator Academy, to identify what is defamatory that is posted or what is misleading that is posted, because I don't want to post misinformation or misleading information. So it's really important that they respond. So yesterday I went to the post office. I sent them a certified letter. They have until May 1st to respond. And if they don't, then their silence will be noted in the report. But this is more for informational purposes. It's more for people to know. I'm just literally following the instructions that I have set before me and how to do it. I didn't know what I was really walking into when this door was opened, but I thank God that I've been able to document this journey and to be able to do it with somewhat ease and advocacy. So that's one
I'm
school.
curious. I have a lot of questions. Um and mainly, so I know one of the things that you've talked about many times is having the things documented so that there is a way to search it. I'm curious as to what the expectations are outside of documenting.
When you say expectations, can you give me an example of what you're referencing?
Like what are the intended outcomes, or what are you or people expecting to come out of, besides documenting? out of the documenting? Are people are we expecting accountability? So what is being expected?
I still have a hard time with the question because I don't at this moment I don't have expectations that folks, if they're not going to be accountable back then, will they be accountable now? I don't know. What I do know is that for investigative purposes and how some of the journalistic things have been done is to highlight the issues, to bridge awareness, to share what's happening, to open the door for more communication, to ask the questions. Will I expect the school to be accountable? I hope so. I hope that there's some oversight of being like, this is where we dropped a ball. But when they issued a response to say that there's misleading information and that we always respond and take accountability for things, it did make me scratch my head a bit reading that statement and then reading some of the things that were on my posts where there's some things that are conflicting. So I don't really know as it relates to this particular issue of what the intended outcomes would be other than to bridge awareness and to allow the folks who have been silenced in this process, to allow the folks that have been harmed in this process to be heard. And I think that even in that is giving them a lot more than what has happened, because a lot of folks had been silenced in this process. And some folks are still afraid to even talk publicly and have asked if they could be anonymous, which again, I honor and respect where they are in their journey and sharing their story. But I think more is the amplification of folks' story, them using their voice to share what happened and to provide, again, a documentation trail of these students that go to these schools. And again, we have all these different educational opportunities, but the state of Florida doesn't have the same oversight on charter schools than it does on public schools, and public schools continues to be defunded. So I can't spend too much time looking at public schools because we already know, but I can spend some time looking at charter school networks because bills were just passed that is going to give more money to charter school options. And I don't know if you've seen what I posted, just last night, but Hillsborough County is facing almost an $18 million budget deficit.
Yeah. I'm not surprised by any of this, right? We've already like this has already been in the works and the happenings. The reason I'm asking is because I'm curious as to, I guess, the level of acceptance that people are having regarding what is happening. So the reason I ask beyond documentation, because yes, I know that things need to be documented and things need to be on record and it needs to be searchable and all that kind of stuff. But accountability is not going to happen. That's not what's happening. Like the executive orders that got signed just yesterday or the day before, it's all about doing what they're doing. Even with they passed an executive order about basically rolling back restorative practices and social emotional learning and like all of those things that attend to the whole child to make teachers able to discipline their classroom however they want to. Hello, prison, school to prison pipeline, all that. Accountability is not going to happen. So I just don't want people to get caught up in thinking beyond documenting this, because this is important, beyond having your voice heard, beyond saying this is what's happening and I'm not going to be silent because it happened, but also understand they're not about to do right. That's not what's about to happen. That's not happening. It hasn't been happening and it's not about to start happening, especially not for kids that look like us. So that's why I'm asking, because I'm just curious about the level of acceptance of what is happening locally, but also federally on all levels, that these cases are going to be more common. This is what's going on. This is what's happening. This was going to be happening. So now what do we do with that? That's kind of why I was asking. Okay. So yeah, I didn't know if you had anything else to say, but I just wanted to give that context or any thoughts about what I just said. Because again, I'm not in the States. I haven't been there, so I don't know what that looks like and sounds like.
No, I mean, like I said, the outcomes and the purpose is to amplify the voices that have been silenced in this particular matter. And now that they're sending cease and desist, again, it makes me wonder, has this been a historical practice? And how many other people have experienced something like this before? And what does that look like? And knowing that with all the different policy changes that are happening, that is not for the betterment of education, is more of an awareness of being like, we've been talking about this for some time now. So whatever that you do, that's going to be your business ultimately. But the role here and what this purpose is to amplify and ensure that there is some awareness to it. And if they decide not to take accountability, that's their business. But at least folks can't say that they didn't know.
Understood. Understood. I just didn't want you to be getting caught up in expecting change. And I hate to say it like that as an activist, but it's very to me. And that's why I don't be knowing if maybe I know I'm not crazy, but it's very evident that any types of protections that were in place for students of color, Black students, students with disabilities, those protections are not going to be in place. It's not happening. They are taking away all of the laws that protected those things. So I'm curious, as more of these things start happening, what that looks like for you in the types of things that are going to be in your inbox and how you're managing that, because it is going to be a lot, because this is what is happening. And people, yes, are speaking and wanting to have their voices heard. Yes, and that's important. But also, what are you doing to protect your children? Our kids are not safe in these people's schools. And I need us to accept that and understand that they're not. So what are we going to do to help our kids to be safe? Because it feels like we're fighting a losing battle. And maybe those are just my feelings. But I have decided for my life that I'm accepting what they're saying, because that's what they're doing. So me raising my blood pressure about that is not helping. It's more advantageous for me, for instance, to work on a curriculum for helping parents facilitate homeschool so that their kids don't have to go into those environments, as opposed to fighting the system. So I'm just curious about, not necessarily that this is what you're doing, but I'm just curious about how people are processing and accepting what is actually happening in the government versus hoping for something to change in a positive direction. It's not.
Yeah, I don't really have much commentary as it relates to that. I know that as far as people holding on to hope, there are some people that are still holding on that things will change and things will get better. And I'm not going to be the type of person to say that it's not going to get better or it's going to get worse. All I can do is just focus on the reality of what we're dealing with and to operate in my giftings and to focus on that. And I think that's what the strategy is now for me, to protect my peace in it, because before I would want to be like, and they need to be held accountable and they need to be able to accept responsibility and they need to be able to. And after reading the Let Them theory by Mel Robbins and just being like, they're going to do what they're going to do regardless, but still operating in my giftings and letting me do what I want to do as it relates to it and let them decide however they want to move in it, has been such a life-changing philosophy for me as I'm operating in this space, because I can't worry about that. I can only worry about what I can control, and what I can control is cutting on this mic. What I can control is cutting on this webcam, and I can type some notes. I can listen to folks, and I can do a whole reporting, and went to school for this. So that's all I can do.
Felt and heard.
So what other questions?
Well, you've been in the US. I'm curious about, I don't know. That's why it's hard for me, because I'm not there and I'm seeing the things that are happening, and I do not understand the level of awareness and or acceptance that you have of what is happening. So I don't know. You're in the US. What has it been like?
Well, when I'm in the environment that I can control, like in my parents' house and in my room or in my office, I'm doing great. Life is great. Now, when I navigate out of here, not too far down the street, we had a whole shooting at a university, and that was a very real thing to experience and to take in, because I literally had just got home when the alerts came on that incident happened. Or when I go to the grocery store and I'm seeing that the price of eggs has gone up, the limited availability of
Can you contextualize how much eggs are there about
it's about $6, almost
for a
$6.
dozen?
Yeah, like my juice that I would be able to get for like 2.99, which that's expensive to even think about in comparison to the juice that I would get in Colombia. But like the juice is almost $4 now. It's mango juice, just mango juice.
What about like, have you had any experiences with fresh fruits and vegetables?
Well, so purchasing them, no. However, my sister had got a pineapple, like the fresh pineapple, and Kimberlin, it tastes different. I was like, I can't eat this. I don't know what it is, but I can't eat it. And I'm used to having pineapple. That was the thing that we would have there, and watermelon. It tastes different. Like I feel in my body that like I know that I've gained weight. That I know. And I know that I've experienced that because of the sugar and the different food options that are available, but also like the different preservatives and the chemicals that are placed in some of the foods, to where like my cramps are starting to hurt in a way that it wasn't hurting when I was in Colombia. So I was sharing with my bonus mom, I was like, I feel a difference in my body being here. I feel different. And even certain foods, I'm like, I can't do it because I know what freshness tastes like. And I don't need to eat it. I'm good. So as far as like the climate and culture, I don't really navigate too far around to really be immersed with other people. And I think that's what the blessing of being able to be in my own world and kind of be tunnel vision in that, because I don't need to go into someone's office and to interact with different people every day. I can literally choose to isolate myself in my space. And if I want to communicate with folks, it's virtually. And that's perfect with me. But I will say that I've been watching like the Florida House and the Florida Senate, and they're not going to be able to agree on a budget. So session was supposed to end on May 2nd. And yesterday, it was brought out that they have reached an impasse, that there's been a lot of spending that's been happening at the governor's office, and that there are questions that need to be answered. It's a lot that is going on out there. And again, I try to stay in my own world, but yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. It's particularly about the feeling different, like how it feels for you, right? To be back there. And the food part of it all is something that as every day passes, I'm becoming more and more hyper aware of. And more, every day that passes, I'm becoming more and more hyper aware of how the US operates, period, and the associated propaganda that is so far reaching and so deeply embedded in US citizens. It's interesting, and it makes me so curious about all of the non explicit programming that we got growing up there. For instance, I ran across a video the other day when I was first talking about my relationship with food and how my relationship with food changed once I got here. And I was saying that I didn't like in the US, if you buy food, it doesn't have dirt or roots on it. It's just the food. It's cut clean. And here you buy your cilantro, you buy your whatever, it's got the roots attached. Your lettuce, they pulled it out the ground and here you go. And having to reprogram my mind to, this is not dirty, this is fresh, this is organic, this is untouched. And having to reprogram that because that's not the messaging that we get in the US, all the way to the food does taste different. And it is very interesting when you get food that is not altered and then you go back to food that is heavily processed and altered, how it makes an impact in your body. And if you are in tune with your body, then you are able to see how it does not agree. Remember, I was telling you, like, I didn't stop eating meat because I was like, I don't want to eat meat. I stopped eating meat because I realized the impact that it was having on my body. And then I was like, I cannot do this anymore. Or cheese or whatever, right? It's like your body just makes a different choice because you're actually listening to your body and allowing your body to say, yes, this feels good. No, this doesn't. So it's interesting to hear you say there are certain things that you're like, yeah, this pineapple tastes different. You know what I learned about pineapples the other day? I don't remember. I told you this last time how I've been on this food distribution rabbit hole lately. This the scientist in me, y'all. I'm a biologist, okay. But they were talking about how I think they were saying the food was coming from, let's say the food was coming from Puerto Rico to go to Florida, let's just say. And they were like, the food goes from Puerto Rico to, let's say, Texas. Then it spends some time there, and then it goes on a truck to Atlanta, and then spends some time there. And then from there, it finally gets to Florida. Like, food is coming, fresh food is coming to the US weeks delayed, because it's not, they got to put it through processes and preservatives. And even though it's being said that it's fresh, right? Like, I have always been here. You know how fast fresh food goes bad here, because there are no preservatives. You know what I mean? Because it is actually fresh. Whereas in the US, that same cilantro, that same pineapple, that same tomato may last an entire week, because it's gone through a process. It's not actually fresh and organic. So it's interesting. And I'm curious if you have any thoughts about anything that I just said.
So, yeah, I do feel like that there is some warfare that is happening with the food, whether it is to preserve it as long as possible for capitalism, or intentional ways in which to poison folks in order for them to have to subscribe to medication or just to
I
change
think
the
it's both.
quality of life. There's a lot of dynamics that come into play. I just know that does taste different. It does hit different.
Yeah. I had watched, have you ever seen They Clone Tyrone?
That Jordan Peele.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With Jamie Foxx and John Boyega and Sienna Parrish. I
Mhm.
just rewatched it the other day because I forget what was happening. Some executive order probably that was signed. And I was like, this is They Clone Tyrone in real life. In real life. And I do believe that that is what is happening. You know, especially with movies, a lot of times we take them as fantasy, but there are elements of truth that are in those movies. And that is one that makes me very aware that these types of things are happening. They have happened. They have happened, and they're continuing to happen. So the activist in me doesn't allow me to be quiet about it. It makes me want to make people, again, aware of what is happening, because maybe if you realize that, maybe we can get more people who start to grow their own food, and more people who start to actually think about, okay, I like this particular food, but can I make this at my house with products that I know where it actually came from, as opposed to divorcing ourselves from the process. Like, after a while, you know so much that you can't unsee what you know. You know, so it's just like, I can't eat the pineapples. They're not. This is not it. Yeah. So now it's like you looking at every pineapple like, that ain't it. It's a rabbit hole, but it's also empowering, and it can be empowering if we have the ability and the willingness to say, okay, I'm going to own this part of my life. You know, it's interesting. One of the things I wanted to talk about, so 420 passed, and I ran across some text, some not text, Facebook statuses that I had shared some years ago, and I had to take screenshots of them because I was like, girl. But I also don't want to cut short your transparency moment if you had any more that you wanted to share.
Yeah. So I wanted to share that I had asked Chat, for those who don't know what I'm referencing, Chat GTP or GPT. With some reason, I've realized that I've been inverting these letters for quite some time, and it took me editing a video in Riverside to realize that I would always say Chat GPT, which I don't know where and how that ended up coming to play, but instead of Chat GPT. So, okay, so I just call it Chat because these three letters, tongue twister. Okay, so with Chat, I had asked, I was like, so I'm preparing for this podcast, and if you could compile some topic ideas based on what I've provided you and what I've shared this week. So there were 8 things that they said, and then I'll close you with my transparency moment with these 8 things. So the first thing that it said was a policy without practicality is performative. And I've been sharing a lot about my thoughts on HB3, in which there's been some sidebar conversations and things that have came out as a result of me being very public talking about that.
I don't know anything about HB3. What is happening? What is that? What does HB mean? We got to tell the people.
Okay. So HB stands for House Bill and then the number 3. This bill was signed into law by Governor Ron DeSantis last session, which bans children under the age of 14 from being on social media. Well, are children under the age 14 still on social media? Yes. Is this bill being enforced? No. So I've been sharing that. Well, one of the folks that created this bill is my ex-wife, in which she went to a committee meeting to say that there were critics that had called some of the lawmakers performative, which is what I did, which don't know how you had access to see that, but hey, okay, great. I said what I said. So again, policy without practicality is performative. Again, continuing to advocate for policy changes that are really going to actually make an impact. And although you have an intention to do something, if it's not making the impact that you want, then again, it's performative. The second thing it said was karma isn't timed, healing from the need to see revenge. And it says how to trust God and life will handle what you can't. The third thing that it outputted was gatekeepers, goodbyes, and God timing. A petty praise break on releasing people who you thought could block your blessing. The fourth one was when family triggers your healing journey, a real talk about being disappointed by the ones you love and choosing your peace anyway. The fifth one is you can't audit my village if you don't pass the test yourself. Protecting your energy while doing your own village audit unapologetically. Number 6, Holy Ghost clapbacks, blocking spiritual manipulators, faith, boundaries, and the art of keeping receipts, biblically and personally. Number 7, not all community leaders are community healers. A deep dive into healing from performative activism and fake allyship. And the last one, healing the need to be chosen wound, shedding the layers of seeking validation from the wrong people and standing firm in your purpose.
And what was the prompt that you used for this?
So I said to chat, I said, based on some of the things I've shared this week, what should be some podcast topics that I share for my podcast, Heal That Shit?
That was dope. Can you say number 6 again? It was about religion, spirituality, Holy Ghost clapbacks. Was that the one?
It was Holy Ghost clapbacks, blocking spiritual manipulators.
Yeah. So I did a video on Easter 420 about my journey in religion. I didn't even share everything, but it was interesting and it was eye opening, and it very much helped me to process a lot of what happens in religion, specifically in the US and specifically in Black churches in the US. And there's a lot of misunderstanding of the colonial part and of the patriarchal systems that exist in religion, the patriarchy, the race, the outright racism, and how it is used as a tool of control and manipulation. So it was interesting. So that one stood out to me, the Holy Ghost clapbacks. That's deep. Yeah. Cool. Well, so 420 was Easter, and 420 was also the day that many people who consume cannabis celebrate that day. So as it was 420, and I was thinking to myself, oh, it's 420 and it's Easter. Like, this is interesting. I open up Facebook and I see a post that I shared 14 years ago. So this was what, 2011. Okay. So in 2011 I don't think we had gotten engaged yet, but I was with my ex and I was trying to be a good Christian. I was trying to be first lady material and show, what I'm supposed to be doing about God, right? So this is what I wrote for there too. So I didn't take a screenshot of what I said in the exact post, but I took a screenshot of 2 comments. So I said, it really upsets me that people celebrate drug use and addiction. Why is that cool? Marijuana is an illegal drug with negative effects on the body, but yet we make a celebration out of that, SMH. So then somebody else commented, and to, yeah, that, So then I said, exactly my point. Excuses are tools of the incompetent. Drug users are definitely incompetent, else they wouldn't be killing themselves with drugs in the first place. And I thought, you remember I told you I used to be super judgmental, right?
Ooh.
Remember I told you that?
Uh-huh.
And you going to hell with gasoline draws on, like period and point blank. I don't care. First class ticket out of here. And as I was reading that, I definitely grew up in the generation to say no to drugs. So that was like the Reagan generation. I now know that how complicit the government has been in getting drugs into our communities and why so many people succumb to drug use. But as a child, say no to drugs. This is a drug. You say no, period. And I was also taught not to ask questions as a child. So this is what you're supposed to do. That is what I do. Officer Friendly said, buckle your seatbelt. You buckle your seatbelt. Period. So now I'm the seatbelt police. Any car, excuse me, everyone needs to buckle their seatbelt because they said click it or ticket. Didn't you see the sign on the billboard? It said click it or ticket. You're not clicked, and therefore this is illegal. That was me. Okay. So the messaging, why are you laughing?
Because I could hear you now saying it.
Because I was this is who I was as a little girl. Like, look both ways for everything they told me to do. That was the right thing to do. If someone said this is what you're supposed to do, that is what I did. Not asking questions, just yes, sir, yes, ma'am, it is done. Right. Until I started getting in trouble for doing the things that I was supposed to do. And then I wasn't understanding. But I did what you said. This doesn't make sense. So it wasn't until much, much later that I started asking questions. So my experiences with cannabis was very interesting because when I was in middle school, I had friends that used to smoke. Again, this is an illegal drug. Okay. They would always try to get me to smoke. And I'm like, it's an illegal drug that destroys your brain cells. I need my brain cells to get from out of here. Y'all have no idea what it's like in my house. So, no, I'm not doing that. Now, if you want to do that, that's fine. But don't ask me to do that because I'm not doing that because I need my brain cells, right? This is the programming that I got. I also had an aunt who used to smoke cannabis all the time, and she wound up using crack. And because of that, my cousins were taken away, and it was just a very hard time in our family. Like, it was just a lot that was happening. And I was told that weed was the gateway drug. So I became Miss Say No to Drugs. It's unacceptable. It's absolutely not okay. And it's going to lead you down the pathway to crack. Cut it out, to the point I had even sent a message to one of my cousins one time because they were on the internet smoking. And I was like, why would you do this? You know what this has done to our family. Like, what is wrong? Like, why are you doing this? Right? This is the person that I was. And it's very interesting because the pendulum has swung so starkly different to the other side in understanding the medicinal use of the plant. And I would hear people say that, like, I use it as I consume cannabis for medicinal use, like cancer patients or whatever. And I'm like, y'all just looking for a reason to be high. That's all it is. They're just trying to get high, right? Till I started deciding that I didn't know or want to have prescription medication. And then the question was, okay, but you have these conditions, and how are you going to manage these conditions if you're not going to take prescription medication? And then, and only then, did I finally start to open my mind to understand that maybe, just maybe, people that consume this plant are doing it for medicinal reasons and not because they just want to get high. And then I became a person who is now a user of plant medicine as well as an advocate. Because again, without knowledge, without a certain set of knowledge, we repeat what we were told and we do what we were told to do. and we believe what was told to us, right? So, from the purest intentions of me not wanting this quote unquote drug to destroy my family more than it had, I became this person that was so judgmental about people who were actually possibly using this plant in order to help themselves to be able to function. And now I'm one of those people. So it was interesting, and it was a moment to reflect. And that's why I took a screenshot of it, because I was like, my God, like how far I have come in my understanding. Because the other part of this is the cultural parts of our lives that were demonized and that we were told through religion were not valid, right? So even if you go back to indigenous people, they have been using plants to heal since, but way, way, way before colonization. But that was taken away because the white people wanted it to be about their systems and their drugs and their things that they're manufacturing. Insert capitalism, insert abilities to be able to control and poison and manipulate and all of that, right? So they didn't grow up, they didn't tell us that in school. You know what I mean? They didn't tell us that indigenous people were healers and they were healing themselves way before white people came along. They told us that the white people saved them because they were savages, you know? So it's been interesting. So that's one of the rabbit holes that I've been down and kind of processing. Curious about your thoughts.
Well, mainly thinking about, well, during this, not necessarily on the rabbit hole, because food and insecurities and all of that exists, but like wondering how you've been able to like manage with the different things that you've been having to deal with, and what does your spirit look like and feel like as you're navigating the asylum process and just navigating the different projects that you're working on. Like, how are you?
It's been a lot. I have a lot on my shoulders. I was explaining to Andrea in Spanish, by the way, the other day. She was like, "That's a lot. You carry a lot." And I was like, "I know." And people don't know that. Like it's a lot. It's a lot to process. Right now I'm in the process of gathering documents and substantiating, my experiences with articles and videos and, all the things. They were like, "Do you have any videos of you speaking out about your relationship with the US?" Yes, hundreds of hours of them. Like, where would you like to begin? So, like, that's a lot of processing that. I'm also becoming much, much, much more hyper aware of the fact that I am a highly Googleable person and the potential precautions that I need to take because of that. I very much have been in the process of removing access to me and the ability to be able to just contact me from certain people. And not because they have necessarily done anything wrong, but because they just don't understand. And I really don't have the ability to have people around me in my inner circle right now who do not understand the risk that I take every time I open my mouth to say something, or every time that I open my mouth to appear on camera, because I need people around me who can protect me and are able to understand the gravity of the things that I have talked about and the things that I have seen and the whistles that have been blown and the receipts that I have and the people that do not want those things to be public. So it's interesting. It's a very interesting place to be in. And it's lonely because many don't understand. And, it's very easy for people to be like, "Oh, it's fine. Everything's going to be fine." And this is why I practice radical acceptance. Like, things are not fine. They're not. So you can pretend it's fine all you want. You can sit there and say it's not. Things are not fine. There is crisis afoot. Now, does that mean to panic? No, but it's not fine. So it's not helpful when I'm talking to it's going to be fine people because it's not fine. Right. So that's interesting. And it's just really making me evaluate who I have around me and what position they have. I often talk about circles of access. We actually just did that in Discover Your Destiny this week. And we were talking about boundaries. And, Kalanda and I have talked about it as an alert circle on so you don't put syrup on your grilled cheese. But like, who are these people that are in the core that know how to have your back? Because shit is about to be popping off. And it's weird to me, to be honest, when I'm saying that and people are like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know, because what? And I don't live there. So it's like, how do I know these things and you don't? Is it because of propaganda? Is it because you're in survival mode? Like, because what is the plan? What's the plan? Because to pretend it's not happening is not a plan. To just hope is not a plan. So what is the actual plan is where I always get to, and it comes across as very, maybe, I don't know, harsh, I don't know, but time is of the essence. And that, not necessarily, I was going to say it has become exhausting. It's not that it's exhausting, but it's more that I just don't understand why people don't understand, and having to accept that because people are maybe not able to understand or not willing to understand, that means that I am going to have to separate from them, because they're not a person that's going to be able to protect me when shit hits the fan, because you still sitting there saying everything is fine, as opposed to having a plan in place for when shit hits the fan, because it's going to hit the fucking fan. So it's weird. It's a very, very, very weird place to be in. And it does cause a lot of isolation, because you don't know who to trust, like, and not to say who to trust as far as, I think somebody gonna go into my secrets, but who to trust with how important this is. This work that I am doing in sharing, this work that I have been doing in sharing what happens in education and talking about what's happening behind the scenes since I've been experiencing it in 2020, 2021, 2022. And now those things are happening and people are still like, oh no, it's been happening. Like, are y'all not listening to me? Like, what is happening? So my way of having to do, I have to protect me. I have to. So that means that I can't engage in those. And when somebody is surprised about stuff, I can't meet you in your surprise, because I know and more. This is just what you know about. There's so much more that's happening, and it will continue to happen. So what are you going to do about it? Not how are you going to fight a losing system, but what are you going to do to protect yourself and your family is what I'm on. And like I said last episode, a lot of people ain't on that. And they're still hoping that things are going to turn around, or having belief in a democracy that is crumbling every single day. It's not real. It is not real. So it becomes polarizing. So I find myself just not necessarily being quiet, but saying what I have to say. And then I said what I had to say. And again, you can't say that you didn't know, because I've been talking about this for a long time. So it's been interesting. I've found myself listening to Amanda Seales a lot more, because I get it. And I definitely understand what it is like to have to retreat to a safe space to be able to continue advocacy. So I am kind of on that of finding more joy in being in my Patreon and sharing things in Patreon about what's happening in my life right now. Because even with the amount of weight and the amount of gravity that is involved in this asylum process, on the other side of that, there is so much joy in the cookbook and Chef Ratatouille and that part of life. But also, there is so much uncertainty, because if the application isn't accepted, then I have to figure out where I'm going to live. and where it will not be and cannot be is the United States of America. So it's a lie. It's a lot of logistics. My brain is constantly moving and trying to figure everything out. And then because of my now more global understanding of the impact of the US and their policies on other countries like Panama, once you see it, you can't unsee it. So it's very difficult to have any type of patriotism, if you will, to a country that is actively destroying the lives of billions of people around the world because they're playing this game of world domination, and people are not recognizing and realizing what's happening. So they're just skipping along another day or in survival mode. So then I'm like, okay, but we can't be in survival mode. We have to calm our nervous system so that we're able to plan. It's like, so it feels to me like I'm just so intense, and I'm just like, so then I just have to like, I said what I had to say, and I just have to log off because I don't understand why people are not getting it. I really don't.
I'm wondering for the folks that maybe don't understand but want to understand in this present context of what you're speaking about. If you could put it in so many words of what you want someone to understand, what would you say and how would you articulate that right now in this moment?
That the US is in crisis. There is a constitutional democratic crisis, is on the way to dictatorship. And because of that, we as Black people and people who are a part of the indigenous communities who built that country, we need to use those same skills to insulate ourselves and communities so that we're able to survive, because this is not a 4-year situation. This is about to be a 10, 12, 15, 20-year situation. Once Trump gets finished, yes, he will expire, and JD Vance is the vice president. There is an illusion of democracy right now, and we have to accept that that is over. So now, how are you going to protect yourself and your family? Do you know how to grow food? Do you know people who know how to grow food? Is there a way that you can find ways to divest from all of the ways that the US has a hold? There's so much. I watched a White House briefing the other day because I just wanted to see. Have you watched any?
Yeah, from time to time.
I wanted to see the simulation, and it was really interesting. That girl, I don't know what the girl's name is, who is she's not a girl, the woman who is the press secretary. I don't know how long they have been prepping her for her job, but she's great at spinning the narrative. She's really great. She was saying stuff like, and we're moving at Trump speed. And I was like, y'all don't see what's fucking happening here? Like, I just don't. When I tell you, it is like watching and being in the Twilight Zone for real. They're changing the language. They're just like, what? I don't know. I don't know how else to help people wake up to acceptance, because the things are happening. The orders are being signed. Did the man ever get back from El Salvador? Is he still there?
From my understanding, he's still there.
They're actively doing things. They're actively deporting people, people who are there legally, people who are actually citizens, as well as people who have been in the country undocumented. So, like, there's an active attack on children and women and education, and like, so I don't understand. I really don't. And it causes so much outrage inside of me because I just want to shake people and slap the shit out of them, be like, wake the fuck up now. We don't have time for you to be sitting there acting like everything is fine. It's not fucking fine. So then I seem like I'm crazy. So then I just be like, I'm about to go blow bubble. I'm about to blow bubble.
And
And that's all I can.
And so, if there is awareness that there is a problem in the States due to policy changes and the different things that have been happening historically, then what?
What are you doing to protect yourself and your family? Do you know how to grow food? Do you know how to sustain yourself outside of these systems? Where's your community? Who is your alert circle? Are you able to leave? Do you have a passport? If you are able to leave, get the fuck out. If you aren't able to leave, then how are you helping to insulate yourself so that you do not have as much damage as you will have if you don't plan? Are you thinking about what types of foods that, like, this is, people make fun of people like doomsday preppers and stuff like that. This is the time. This is the time. You need to have things on deck. You need to have the ability to be able to support yourself. What does that look like? That's the then what. Is going to always go back to that. If you are looking to leave the US, I can help you find a piece abroad. Come holler at me. I will help you. We will get you out of there. If you're not in a place where you're able to leave, do you know how to grow food? What is something you can start growing on your balcony? Can you make a herb garden? Can you start learning how to make different recipes, right? What other sources of income do you have? Are you able to get into content? Like, what are you going to do to help yourself? Because shit is hitting the fan quickly. But that's where I am that's how I am. I feel like I am looking at, not I feel like, we are looking at world power shifting. We are looking at a country that an administration that is looking to have world domination. We got to be out the way of that. The best way, and that's going to look different for everybody, but you got to be thinking and talking about a plan. You cannot be acting like everything is fine. Even he signed an executive order for HBCUs. And some people in the HBCU groups are like, well, let me not even start there. Let me start with the discipline one. Because what I understand is, I understand that things are out of control in schools. That since COVID, things have been crazy. Yes, that was a global trauma without mental health support. Yes, I'm sure things are very crazy. Why aren't we supporting these children's developing brains? But instead, what they are doing is taking that support out of the schools and saying that teachers have a right to discipline in whatever ways that they see fit or what have you, right? So what's going to happen from that? All of those marginalized groups that were at the top of the school to prison pipeline, they rising back, the quote unquote achievement gap and all of that, that's coming back because they just said there's an executive order here about restoring, what did it say? Restoring equality, opportunity, and meritocracy. It says in here, a bedrock principle of the United States is that all citizens are treated equally under the law. This principle guarantees equality of opportunity, not equal outcomes. It promises that people are treated as individuals, not components of a particular race or group. It encourages meritocracy and a colorblind society, not race or sex-based favoritism. Adherence to this principle is essential to creating opportunity, encouraging achievement, and sustaining the American dream. This is the type of stuff that they're saying. So on meritocracy, people that don't even have boots, they're going to be like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I don't even have boots because y'all made sure that I didn't have boots. Therefore, I'm never going to have the merit to be able to achieve. It's like that's all I have to say.
You sure?
Because I get frustrated. Because we have to pay attention to what's happening and move accordingly. And it's the moving accordingly that's not happening.
Yeah, I guess that people have their own view of what moving accordingly looks like. I've had conversations with folks that recognize and see the different things that are going on and feel like there's nothing that they can do to change it. So they're just in their own little world, just doing what they can. And what that can is very variable. There's some folks that's like, well, I'll get involved by like phone banking and getting involved in politics. And the can could be, I'm just minding my business and just staying to myself. So I'm wondering, like, to the folks that have those different opinions, how do you feel as it relates to that?
I don't think getting into politics is the answer at all. I think that is the absolute wrong direction because you're signing yourself up to be frustrated. We are not going to be getting elected. And if we do get elected, the policies that benefit us are not happening. Look at what's happening in Florida. There's a supermajority. Yes, there are people there that were elected. They can't do shit. They can't do shit but perform. You know why? Because you don't have any power. So you just sit there tap dancing for the record. But there are people that need to do that. So God bless them. Right. So the people, I definitely think it is a minding my business type of thing. So what's your plan? What is your plan? If eggs continue to rise, what is your plan? This is why I go back. Do you know how to grow food? Are you putting that into place? Or are you still keeping yourself dependent on things? You still buying stuff from Amazon every 2 weeks? Or have we accepted, hey, shit's about to hit the fan. I need to be conserving. I need to be thinking about strategically, like what is going to happen. That's what I'm talking. Because what is going to happen is there are going to be people that are just living life as if nothing has changed because they don't necessarily know what to do or they don't know how to do or they don't know know how to reach out to somebody else, and there is going to be grave harm that is going to be caused. I don't know what that looks like, but it is going to happen in whatever way that they can ensure that it happens, and they being the people who are in control. So, how do I help myself so that I'm not at their will and their mercy? I got to start thinking about those things now. Right? Like us going into jobs and thinking we about to make a difference. You're not. You're not about to make a difference at that job. You are there to feed the wheel, to feed the machine. That's it. So if you have to be in that job to feed the machine, then only feed the machine. The rest of your time needs to be used in thinking about how you're going to keep yourself and your family safe and insulated from the harm and danger that is actively happening. Who are the people that you can call that y'all are going to check on each other? That if somebody doesn't check in for so many days, that somebody is looking for them. Like, this is where we are right now. So it's like we have to go back and think. It's not even really Jim Crow. It's really like sharecropping reconstruction era of what are the things that we can do, because we're the ones with the skills. Them white people don't know how to do nothing. We are the ones with the skills. We are the magic. So what is the magic that you have that you can use to benefit the community? I ran across an organization the other day. It's called Barter Black, and she is developing a network of people that are willing to barter services. What services do you have that you can barter with somebody in your community so that money doesn't have to be involved, but y'all taking care of each other? Is it we're taking turns cooking meals? So I'm going to cook this meal for everybody this day, or I'm going to decide not to work because I'm going to watch the kids so the kids don't have to go to them people's school. How are we planning to insulate ourselves from the harm that they are trying to cause to us actively every day? Does that help?
Guess what? Ask the people in the comments when they see it.
Well, I'm asking, does that give answer to your question? I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what has been on my mind. And it's hard seeing when everybody can't see for various reasons. And it's not that I am blaming those, because I realize the US is a propaganda machine. There are only certain things that are being shared. And again, if you listen to a briefing, or depending on where you get your news from, you might not have access to what is actually happening. So I realize that. And also, though, we have to get curious because the stuff is out there. It is out there. I don't know what more you would need to see, though. And that's the other things that I don't understand is like what more people would need to see before they move into action. Like you had mentioned at the very top that something lit a fire under you. I don't know what the fire need to be to get the lit to happen, because I am talking to people that are like, well, God is still in control. Yes. So what are you gonna do? Like, how are you protecting your kids? And how are, because what, you still sending your kids to the school where they got, like, what is it, school finna end over the summer? Are we making plans to make sure that we got places for kids to be able to get support? Like, what is the plan, y'all? That's it.
So I'm wondering, how do you protect your peace as it relates to different people having their own plans on what that looks like for them?
I go blow bubbles. I turn it off and I go blow bubbles, because all I can do is make it as plain as I possibly can. And after that, I'm doing what I'm asking. So I am actively making a plan. But also I don't live there. So I have the privilege of being able to just close my computer and be like, we're done with that. So that's what I do. And I have to continue working through the grief process of understanding that there are going to be many people that I care about that are not going to be okay. And I have to be okay with that, because I can't make nobody do nothing. That's it. What are you thinking?
So there's a multitude of things I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about, okay, so like wondering if there's like a bunch of thoughts that you're like sitting with and like thought stopping. I'm also wondering, with outside of you like closing the laptop and blowing bubbles, is that's it? Like that's all that you would do to like protect your peace in this? And the only reason why I ask that is because I know that this is something that we've had constant conversations about, where you would want people to take your advice and be like, come up with a plan, and then they come up with whatever that, or maybe not at all, come up with nothing or not even think about it. And then sometimes it will frustrate you.
I think I missed the question in the second part because you were saying, "Is that all I'm doing to protect my peace?" Yeah, I stop talking and I go blow bubbles. Because I already said what I said. So if that is not being received or understood, or someone is not asking questions and then moving into action, like I say, everybody's plan looks different for them. But if you're not even having a conversation, I accept that you gonna have to endure what you got to endure, and I can't do nothing about that. So let me make sure that I have a plan for me, and I'm here if you're able to find me when you need me, and that's why I try to have different ways in place for people to access me. Like the healing circle, for instance, is a way for people to come and to be able to share space and honor their body and their emotions in a way to be able to get access to me. Scheduling time on my calendar for me to actually help and support in making the plan if that is what's needed. But outside of that, no, I can't overextend myself to try to get people to understand what they are not willing, able, or capable to understand. But yes, it is frustrating because it makes me very curious as to how the information is being processed. So yeah, that's it. I turn off the computer.
Yes, indeed.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. But like I said, so to the thought stopping part of it, I am very aware that there are eyes and ears that are monitoring, and I am very aware of the danger that is attached to that. So sometimes I just be like, y'all got it, because I have sacrificed a lot in talking about what has been happening in education, and I'm sacrificed a lot in helping people to protect themselves, to protect their children, to have the language, to the things. I've sacrificed a lot, like my entire life. And I can't do that anymore. So I say what I can if that's looking at an executive order and breaking it down and making people or helping people to have the ability to read through the bullshit. And after that, I turn off the computer and I go and blow bubbles.
So I've been staying to myself a lot more lately. And when I tell you it's been such a blessing to be able to do that and have the privilege to do that, where I don't necessarily have to have a bunch of energies around me.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, protecting my peace and all of the different things that are going on is me having that opportunity of choosing not to deal with certain things, like choosing to be accessible, choosing when to pick up my phone to make contact, choosing when I want to engage in certain spaces and situations. Just I tell you that book, The Let Them Theory, which I am going to put in the description. We have a book list of books that we recommend for folks to go on their journey of healing, and I'll make sure it's in the description so that you can download it. It's on our website, wehealthatshit.com. But the Let Them Theory, let them. And so that's always been my mantra after reading that is let them. And then empowering myself of being like, let me, I'll do that if that's something that I want to do. Let me do that. And if I don't, I don't. But I just think that I've been consuming a lot previously and had to really kind of scale back on the different things that I consume and just trying to have more of an intentional choice on what I am consuming. But that tunnel vision has been so remarkable for me, and just even having that health scare and just realizing like how short life is and like my feelings around that situation and how people showed up in that and like what did that look like and just all of that. Like, it definitely changed how I moving forward, and that's why I'm like the flame is lit, and that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I understand that. It's a beautiful place to be when you're able to insulate yourself and protect your peace. I try to live every day. It is, you know? Yeah, I get it.
Any other transparent thoughts and moments you got?
No, that is what is in my world and what my thoughts are focused on. Wherever that goes, I don't know. I definitely feel there is a shifting that is happening, not just with policy and things like that, but just with energies. And there is a level of anticipation and maybe even a little bit of excitement that comes with that. So that's nice. Yeah. It's this season right now. I was watching reminding myself of a video that I watched with Chloe Bailey and Scott Evans. He does interviews at his house or whatever. But anyway, he asked Chloe Bailey what part or how would she describe the part of her life that she's in right now? And she was like, you know how you're going on a beautiful vacation and you know that the destination is going to be absolutely marvelous. And then the pilot comes on and they're like, there's a little bit of turbulence. Everybody needs to sit down. Sit down now, y'all. She was like, I'm in the turbulence part, but I know that it's a beautiful destination. We just have to get through this part. And I believe that we're going to get through this part, but this part is a lot. That's how my life feels right now. This part is a lot. There's a lot of things that are weighing on my heart, mind, and spirit. I also believe that once I get through this part, that I will be arriving at that destination. And so I am cautiously optimistic about what that will look like.
Yeah. Same. I resonated with that deeply, just with the complexities of life and just experiencing what I've experienced where it shifted my perspective on a lot of things. I will say that this is a very interesting season. And I think that for me, I've been evaluated on like what's truly important for me and where do I best show up and how do I honor myself with the understanding that everyone has their own things that they're dealing with. So I know that there's a beautiful journey ahead, and I know that God will continue to provide and orchestrate and guide my steps, and the folks that I pray for daily to guide their steps as well in this journey. But folks are dealing with so many different things out here. And I do hope that they do continue to hold on hope, though, and that they just continue to keep their faith in whatever that might look like.
I think it's important of what your hope and your faith is in though, because putting hope and faith in the US government is not necessarily the best place to put it. That's just my personal opinion. So if that's hope and faith in your higher power, hope and faith in your ability in your community, but hope and faith in the US government, you might be setting yourself up for a little bit of disappointment. Just saying, from the track record of what is happening, I don't know if that's the best place to put it, right? So it's not getting rid of hope and faith, it's making sure it's in something that actually gives you a return on your investment, if you will. You know, can't go wrong with the higher power. Okay.
Yes, indeed.
Just saying. That's all. So yeah, I don't have anything else. That's all I have.
Well, where can the people find you?
So y'all can find me at KimberlyJackson.com, mindingmyblackAssBusiness.com, DYD25.com, Minding My Black Ass Business on all platforms. I really would like you all to come and join me on my Patreon. If you are looking for a way to support financially, it's only $5 a month. And if you have that to give, I would be very, very, very grateful. A lot of times people are like, I would just rather do this, and that. If you're asking me how you can support me, the best way is on Patreon, because that is how you can give your active support, active love, and actually understand the complexities of what is happening in life right now. So if you would consider that, I would love to have you on my Patreon. Again, patreon.com/minding my black ass business. Where can they find you?
Y'all can find me at www.biancagoolsby.com, in which I've made some significant changes to my website and is still on that journey. But you can see links to my different ventures and some of the articles that I've been featured in, and a way for you to contact me and even book some intentional time with me so that we can talk. I've had an influx of folks that have been visiting my website lately, and it's due to, again, my presence and some of the things that I've been doing. But I looked at my Facebook analytics the other day and realized that it's almost 100,000 folks that are viewing my page. And so one of my videos of my power walks, I was like, I'm glad that y'all are here and watching, but y'all ain't commenting. Y'all ain't liking. Y'all just looking and ain't saying nothing. It is quiet as a church mouse around here. I want to be your friend. Talk to me. Okay? So if you're one of those people that are looking and are not saying anything, then I want you to say something because your voice matters to me and I want to hear from you. And while I appreciate the views and I appreciate the increase, been able to literally double my monetization dollars on Facebook, double, which I thank God for that. And when I say double, I'm not saying like thousands of dollars here. We got to start small. My first Facebook check for just monetization, literally, I just got into this program. It was $10 and I got $30 this month.
That's triple, man. That's huge. That's huge.
So these small amounts make a big difference. And again, just starting this process and being more consistent with content and documenting the process of me being able to edit and to publish and to be consistent in that. Also, the Power Walks just got its own podcast. I finalized the cover art for the podcast this morning, actually. And starting next week, it will be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and any other place that you listen to podcasts. So if you're on your walk and on your journey, then listen to me. I got a couple things to say. I'll affirm you. I'll love on you, but also I'm going to highlight some of the things that you need to be aware of because policy is personal. And as much as folks say that they don't want to get into politics, politics is impacting you every single day. So if I could break down some information that I find important, then hopefully you're able to share that with someone else because they're defunding public education. They are eradicating laws and procedures to protect marginalized communities. And there are real harm and implications that are happening and performative politics at play. So you can find all of that at biancagoolsby.com.
Cool beans. That's awesome. So we'll be back in 2 weeks. Y'all share, like the page, subscribe, comment, talk to us. We
Talk
want to know your
to us.
thoughts. We
Yes,
want to know your
indeed.
thoughts. Well, that's it, y'all. Bye.
Bye.